Is progressive overload the best way to train? Here are my thoughts. I've been requested to talk about progressive overload and its effectiveness. And I'm going to say I'll start this video off with, of course it works. And I'll tell you why. Obviously, if you get stronger within the muscle building rep range of 6 to 12, 6 to 15, 6 to 20, of course you're going to be bigger. So for example, if you're starting at 225 pounds on a back squat and you can do it for 15 reps, and in a year you can take 315 and do it for a perfect 20, I guarantee you your entire lower body is going to be bigger. So of course progressive overload works. And honestly, that's how I started training when I did football. Is we did a 5x5 program, and it was hang cleans, it was squat, and it was bench press. And each week we simply just tried to take our numbers north. Well, guess what happened? Strength increased and my muscle increased. So to me, progressive overload always will be at the forefront of all training programs, because if you're getting weaker, the muscle tends to get smaller, right? So I'm not saying that is 100% accurate across the board, because if we reset our form and the weight comes down, if your form improves and the connection to the muscle improves, then we just simply restart that progression. The muscle won't lose any size. But for the most part, a stronger muscle will be a bigger muscle as long as you're loading the target tissue properly. So that's going to be premise one. Of course it works. Number two, for it to work perfectly, is you have to standardize your execution form and rep tempo. So what do I mean by that? So let's say on an incline barbell, for example, I'm always going to stop 2 to 3 inches above my chest. Well, when the weight starts getting heavier, if it goes from here to the heaviest here, my form isn't standardized. On the same token, if my rep descent or speed up changes, that form isn't standardized either. So let me turn to the side here. So let's say I'm coming down here, and this is week 1. This is my rep tempo. Now, let's say on week 2, when I increase the weight, it just speeds up a little bit. And then finally, let's say on week 4, I'm just crushing like that. That doesn't count as progressive or a positive weight increase, because I literally made the set easier by speeding the repetitions up. So one of the biggest things for this system to work is you have to lock in and be spot on with your form and execution. So you can't cheat reps, you can't use other body parts. Like let's say if we're squatting, right, and your knees start going in, or you start taking your chest towards your quads and getting more low back, hamstrings, and glutes into it as opposed to staying on top of your quads. That doesn't count, because you're manipulating the load to move more weight. So of all the things involving progressive overload, this is the number one thing that I probably say is the biggest turnoff for me, is that people get so married to improving their numbers, meaning reps or weight, that they sacrifice their form and they don't hold themselves to a real high standard with execution. So if you're gonna do this system, I really encourage you to film your sets, because you wanna put those side by side and compare them. So again, using hard examples, if I'm doing an incline dumbbell press, I want to make sure that if I'm hitting 80s versus 100s versus 150s, every one of those reps look identical. Now, will it maybe get slower on the positive portion when things get heavier? Of course. But the negative speed, the depth in which you press it cannot change, or it's not true progression. When I'm talking about standardization as well, this has to be evident. You can't have multiple gym memberships and train all over the place at different sessions. So let's say, for example, one of your key lifts is going to be a Smith machine squat or a press, or even a bent over row. If I use different Smith machine brands, how do I know what the weights are? And if any of you guys have ever been on Smith machines, I've been on ones that are heavy as hell. I've been on ones that are light. So you have to use the same equipment. Or for example, if I'm doing a pec deck, if I'm on a free motion piece one week, a Cybex the next, and a prime the following, there's no way I can standardize those lifts, because how do I know if I'm getting stronger or not? So if you travel a lot for work, or if you just like the mix up of different gyms, if you're always training body parts at different locations, it's not going to work. Now, for someone like me, if I'm focused, like let's say for example, on improving my leg press. I'm always going to train legs at elite, and I'm always going to use that carry and leg press, because that way I know if I put 7 plates on there and get 20, then that's going to be better than it was the previous week at 18 and the previous week of 16. But if I'm changing leg press models, like let's say I use a Nebula, which is about a 35-degree and way easier, and I go from 7 plates to suddenly hitting 10 for 20 reps, something changed, and it's the machine. I didn't get that much stronger. I just didn't add 3 plates aside and more reps. So you have to be constant. So again, if you travel for work, if you like to change gyms and sceneries, even something as simple as the dumbbell, right? If I lift at elite, where those dumbbells are all homemade, they're heavier than if I train at the Y or Anytime, where those are all rubber. They're just lighter, I'm telling you. The weight isn't distributed as the same. It doesn't feel the same in your hands. Even honestly, if I'm doing barbell work, like the plates at elite are heavier. So if I'm doing incline barbell press and I'm chasing numbers, of course I'm going to be down in strength. Or if I'm up in strength, guess what? That was a really good freaking week. So again, you have to be at the same location with the same form and the same execution. That's a huge principle for this to work and for you to be able to track accurately. So the next 2 points here kind of go hand in hand. I don't believe that true low volume, meaning 1 or 2 work sets per exercise, progressive overload is the best way for beginners and intermediates to train. I just don't. And that flies in the face of so much wisdom and science that's going around this fitness community right now. And let me tell you why. Beginners and intermediates need repetition. I believe in that. I was raised in a sports background. Guess what? When we worked on a new play for football, we ran that thing into the ground until it was second nature. You didn't think about it. Everything was flawless because we worked execution, execution, execution. Watch it on film. Do it again. Do it again. It's all repetition. Guess what? That's high volume work, guys. I've had plenty of reps at, say, running a post corner on a smash route, right? I ran it 100 times into the ground. Next thing you know, put a defender on me. It's 7 forward, 3 in, and then to the flat or to the corner, depending upon where the defender's going to be. So it's as simple as that. When I take a lifter who's a beginner or intermediate, I need to hammer them over and over with repetition. That's how we get better. And that's how we ingrain to the nervous system and to my body so that a lift becomes second nature and you can begin to truly progress it. So to me, volume work is needed. Now, don't take that overboard, guys. If you're going back as a beginner or intermediate, you don't need 50 sets, but you definitely need more than 6 opportunities because A, you don't know how to take a set to true failure at that point, or most people don't. And you don't know how to apply enough intensity and direct intent into the muscle in order to get it to grow. So in my opinion, high volume or more moderate volume, I think, is the better approach for beginners and intermediates so they can get practice at lifting and get better at it. Now, to me also, I think the true progressive overload crowd misses this next point, is they believe that moderate volume, you can't get stronger, that I'm always going to use, say, 20-pound dumbbells on a row. And that's just simply not true. Anyone who's ever lifted weights for an extended period of time, or honestly anyone through the 90s and early 2000s, knew we all did high volume. But guess what? We all got stronger on our base core lifts, and every lift went up because we worked hard, ate food, and grew. Like, that to me is just wild to think that, oh, well, you're choosing volume, you can't get any stronger. That's bullshit. I do volume now at almost 40, and I'm still getting stronger within my target lifts and in the exercise order and sequences that I'm doing. So just because I don't choose to carry on a notebook and scribble all the sets down doesn't mean I still can't get stronger. I'm still adding weight to almost everything that I'm doing. Those two aren't mutually exclusive. They can go opposing or hand in hand. So if you do it right, to me, you're going to get stronger either way. So don't get married to the fact that, oh, I'm doing volume, I can't get any stronger. That's not the case. Next thing is we always get, is it good for naturals? Is it good for enhanced? Who's it better for? And to me, guys, and this is, again, another thing that's going to fly in the face of science, there's not a way to train for enhanced or natural lifters. That is so heavily dependent person to person and your ability to recover. Also, what your lifestyle is like outside of the gym. If you have a very high stress, high demand job, you have kids, a family, like you have a lot more responsibility, that plays into your recovery well more than your training style. So what I'd really encourage you is to erase that thought process as, oh, progressive overload is only for enhanced, or if I'm natural, I have to do progressive overload to grow. There's been plenty of guys who are natural who've done high volume and grown like weeds. Like, it all stems from lifestyle, genetics, and your ability to recover. So again, this is great or not great, depending upon who you are. You have to experiment, trial run, see what works, see what doesn't. Next point here, and if any of these I can scream from the rooftops, it's gonna be it. The entire session doesn't have to be progressive overload. Oh, what the hell? I can mix and match styles. Let me talk you through a chest workout, for example. So let's say on chest, and God, I've filmed countless of these videos, and I'll get Chaz to post one here. So I'm gonna start with the machine press, and that's all about activation and getting a pump in my chest, and it's gonna be safe on my joints. I'm gonna pyramid up to a hard set, might do a back off, and my back off might be a rest pause, my back off might be a drop set, doesn't matter. All I'm thinking about here is getting a huge pump in my chest with exercise number one. Out of the gate, getting my shoulders warmed up, my elbows warmed up, and just getting a good mind muscle connection to my chest. Next, I'm gonna do some kind of fly, whether it be a cable fly, a roller fly, a pec deck, and that is gonna be to open my chest up and stretch all that fiber out that I just tried to cramp and fully shorten. This is gonna be a volume-based approach. I'm gonna do 3 to 5 sets, anywhere between 10 and 15 rep range. And on the last set, I might do a drop set, I might do a hold the stretch to really open my pecs up. Then, for my third exercise, I'm gonna use that as my progressive overload movement. That's gonna 9 times out of 10 for me be a slight incline dumbbell press or a barbell press on the incline. And I'm gonna try to get stronger and better at that every single week. I'm either gonna get more weight or more reps. Then lastly, I'm gonna finish with some kind of like mega pump and stretch. So if you notice there, activation, volume, progressive overload, pump, stretch, 5 things. Wow, is your mind blown yet? That's how I love to train. That's how I'm able to stay injury free. And I'm able to really work hard and do things that I love, right? If every single set was to the death to beat every rep and be that like precise, I think I would fall out of love with training because I do like to mix things up, for example. So going through that chest workout I just laid out, I like to start with different varying machines. It may be the wide, it may be the incline, it may be a neutral grip. For the fly, I might want, like I said, roller fly, high cable crossovers, incline fly, pec deck. And then I like to rotate back and forth with my progressive overload movement between dumbbells and barbell because I equally like both of those. But for me, at my point, almost 40 years old, doing both of those in a session every single week is a recipe for disaster for my shoulders. So I do like a little bit of a mix up. So the idea of doing the same workout over and over again, week after week, year after year, if that's what excites you, by all means go for it. But for me, I don't necessarily like that training year round. Do I like spurts of it, 12, 16 weeks? Yeah, I can definitely do that. But by then, I'm gonna be burnout and I want something new, fresh, and exciting. So again, I like keeping the premise of my workout like I just described to you, but interchanging exercises to really hit the muscles from different angles. And last thing to finish this up, I've said this before on Instagram, like this notebook culture, carrying around pencil neck scientist stuff just isn't for me. It's just not. You're never gonna see me with a notebook in the gym writing numbers down. It feels too much like school to me. Like, I'm there to train. And I can tell you this, and you can ask anyone who's ever trained with me in the gym, if they've had time to get a notebook out and write their numbers down. No, they're too busy sucking wind or throwing up in a damn trash can to be writing numbers down and obsessed about beating a logbook. And that doesn't mean I don't train hard or train progressively. It just means I don't want to have a notebook carrying around, or sure as hell don't want to be on my phone and put numbers into a workout spreadsheet. That's just not me. It's not who I am. It's not how I grew up. Can you imagine going to train with Branch Warren or Milo Sarchev and having a notebook out and be like, how many reps did I get there again, Branch? He'd be like, fuck off, bro. Time to go. That's training to me. Going back to that football reference, imagine if I caught a slant at, say, 6 yards, got hit, got to 15 yards, and I was like, hold on, timeout, guys. Let me go write this down in my notebook. That was a 1 catch on a slant for 15 yards. Just tracking my stats. It's laughable because you wouldn't do it. That's not sports. You lose intensity. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, it's just not what I'm into. Again, if that's for you, by all means, ignore this. If that excites you, if that fires you up, if you can't wait to get over there and scribble down your little cute notebook and you have the little things and they're like hardest worker in the room on it, go for it, bro. That ain't me. And if you train with me, I'm going to throw that thing in the fucking garbage. Had to rant. early on a Wednesday. All good. All right, guys, that's all things progressive overload. In the grand scheme of life, like, do what you love. It's definitely effective. It works. I've seen it work for 2 decades at this point. So, build it into your training sessions. Pick and choose, for me, in my mind, pick and choose the exercises that you want to do progressively. And then don't be scared to build in some volume. And then just build in some fun things that excite you and get you a mega pump. Like, I don't want to get that put on a shirt. Like, that's my shit. Like, mega pump. That's it. Full on Johnny Depp style. So if you like this video, guys, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time. Progressive overload, motherfuckers.